The biggest lie Moses ever told himself was that he was inadequate. Moses couldn't believe that he had the power and the authority to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. When God came to Moses through the form of the burning bush, the first question that Moses asked was, "Who am I that I shall go?" Moses went so far as to beg and plead with God to choose somebody else for the thing that God had called him for. Moses did not feel like he was adequate enough for the calling that God had placed on his life. He was so in doubt of his ability to fulfill the calling and to fulfill the assignment that he did everything in his power to resist it. Moses allowed the past mistakes, his speech impediment, and all of the things that he felt made him unworthy to convince him that he was not enough to fulfill the calling that God had placed on his life. Moses couldn't even think of himself and see in himself what God saw in him. Now we're talking about a man that parted the Red Sea, that led a nation of people to freedom out of one of the most powerful dynasties, one of the most powerful regimes, one of the most powerful nations in the land, out of Egypt. Moses couldn't quite grasp the grandeur of his calling. He couldn't quite grasp how important it was for him to lead the charge. And he didn't understand why God chose him. And I wanted to use this as an example to say that if you are someone who is feeling inadequate, who feels like you're not enough, who feels like you cannot fulfill the calling and the promise that God has over your life, read the book of Exodus. There's this old version of us that persists in the back of our heads that allows us to believe that we are unworthy and we are unfit for a good life, for a new life, because of the things that we have been through. We've allowed the story and the narrative to be created in our head that we cannot be better than our past, that we cannot be better than our pain, that we cannot amount to anything because of what we have seen and what we have done and what we have been through and what we have survived. And so we've been hiding. We've been resisting. We've been pushing the calling away because we don't feel in our hearts that we are worthy enough to stand in the glory of something great. But God used Moses as an example in the Bible to prove us otherwise. That everything that you've been through, everything that you have survived, everything that you have experienced, every lesson that you have learned can be used for your transformation if you allow it. Our pain gives us a capacity. It gives us an opportunity to be able to handle the responsibilities that come with power and authority through an assigned calling on our life. Everything that we go through stretches us, and it allows us to see just how much we can bear. But sometimes those experiences are so traumatic, and sometimes they are so depleting that we go into preservation mode, that we try to preserve any bits and pieces of ourselves so that we can survive, so that we can live to see another day. But all things are lessons that God would have us learn. And when we get to a place in our healing, and when we get to a place in our movement, in our progression, God allows us to see that all of that pain and all of that trauma can be transformed for good. That sometimes the only way to heal is by being obedient to the calling. Because in the calling, in the acceptance of the calling, you are exposed to a new life. You are gifted a new environment, a new atmosphere. Your mind is able to be stretched. You're able to see that miracles are possible for you. That you don't have to be a victim to your circumstance. That you get to choose differently. And that in choosing differently, you get to change a life. Leave a legacy of every person that you've impacted, big or small. God doesn't call all of us to part the Red Sea, but he calls all of us to be the light in the world, to be the salt of this earth. Salt is a mineral that preserves, that keeps things fresh, that keeps things in good standing. God calls us to keep this earth balanced. Trust the calling that God has placed in you. Trust the anointing. Trust the oil that runs and flows from your life. Know that abundance is available. And know that no matter how dark your days have gotten, that illness that you've overcome, that addiction that you've overcome, that mindset, that bad habit that you've been able to break, that relationship that you were able to leave, that job that you were able to resign from because you knew that God had better. Trust that all of those experiences work for your good so that God may present a great work through you despite your mistakes, despite your story. There's still an opportunity for you in this life to do something great, to be something great, to lead someone or a nation of people to freedom. If no one's told you today, you matter. You are enough. People like me and you, they don't ask us what it's like to be us. But I created this platform so that we could be in community. So that those who are called and that those who dare to answer know that there's a safe place to land. Know that there's somebody out there who can relate, who can empathize. For those who dare to be great, who want to make a change, who want to make an impact, big or small, to know that there's someone who gets it. There's still an opportunity for you. Just like there was an opportunity for Moses. And God had to shake him up a little bit for him to get it, but he finally understood it. And you will too. Just keep your head up. Keep pushing. Keep believing. God has gifted you the power and the authority to see it through.